What's up guys, my name is Josh and welcome to another First Impressions video. Today we're going to be talking about the Jade 2 electrostatic headphone system. So I have the Jade 2 amplifier here, or the Energizer, and then the Jade 2 headphones themselves in all their beautiful Hifiman glory. And the reason why I do this is to gauge feedback for the actual full review. I want to know what you guys think about the system, any questions you have that I may not have thought of to put in the full review. These are my honest first impressions. I am not allowed to keep this unit. It is just a loaner. Before we get into the actual first impressions bit of it, let's go over some of the preliminary things. So first, what are we listening to and listening on? So I have Foobar 2000 running, all the files on here are FLAC files, and they're running USB to the topping DX7S, balanced output to the actual Hifiman Jade electrostatic amplifier that they have here. And they are calling it an electrostatic amplifier on their little booklet here. So I'm gonna leave a link to these as well as all the other things that I talk about in this video. So to get us started, let's talk about the amplifier itself. It's actually a really simple device despite its size. It's not very complicated. Regarding the front, you have a pretty standard power switch, an LED light that blinks when it's in standby mode and then it's solid when you're ready to go. Two headphone outputs, a balance versus RCA selector, and a volume knob that is not smooth, but in fact clicks. Now on the back, it's also pretty standard. You have RCA ins, your XLR inputs, your voltage selection, and your power cable input. Now regarding the actual build of this, the amplifier portion is actually quite small. Most of the size that you're seeing is actually just the structure around it. They have this kind of squared, rounded structure that's going around what I would describe as like an oval cylinder, and that is actually inside of this kind of housing. It's very neat. I think it looks very cool. I actually really like the design of this. So the headphone structure. First of all, when you first pick it up, it is very, very lightweight. Lighter than this Sundaras that I have here just for an example. And one thing you'll notice right away is that the headband structure is identical. Like, you could have pulled it off one and put it on the other and nobody would have known otherwise. So I guess I have to complain a little bit about that to Hifiman because, you know, this is a premium product. That is a nice product. The Sundara is a nice product, but you're talking about something that is often sold at $350 to something that's sold for thousands of dollars. That's going to be the only real complaint I have for the build quality. Now the actual comfort of it is awesome. Like, it's one of the most comfortable headphones that I've tried simply because it's so lightweight. It's got these massive pads, and this headband structure, at least on my head, disperses the weight perfectly evenly across the entire top of my head. So there's no hot spots or uncomfortable places anywhere. I do like this cable. I'm not sure why these electrostatic systems never have detachable cables, but this one is no different. It's not detachable at all. And then it terminates to a pretty standard 5-pin. So it's all plugged in, and I'm gonna listen to see if there's any noise when you actually turn it on. It's on low volume on the balance selection. Pending. Good to go. No noise whatsoever. Input selection does not make a noise. No noise for that, which is good. And then volume all the way up and all the way down doesn't make any noise at all. And I guess to start this off, we're going to play the most emotional song for me for reasons revolving around a dog that I used to have. And it's going to be David Bowie's Space Oddity. For this specific song so far, it's not like the sound is coming from very far away. Guitar on the right side just seems low in volume, but it doesn't really seem far. It's also worth noting that I won't be able to play me actually listening to the song for copyright reasons because these leak a lot, so sorry about that. Okay, so old music sounds like old music on this. That was even the 1999 remastered version from the Best of Bowie album, and a lot of not very dynamic, lots of hissing and buzzing from the electronics that were being played on and from the track. So we're gonna do Yoshi Hirakawa's Bubbles to test imaging and sound staging, just because this could be pretty impressive. So I'm gonna turn it about 12 o'clock, about 50% of the way up, and hopefully not hurt myself. Oh, okay. Now I'm about 3 o'clock, and it goes to about 5:30. And I'm absolutely maxed out on the topping, by the way. And then maxed out in the volume on this. Okay, so placement of sounds. It's definitely a more internal sounding headphone. It doesn't really sound massively far out like an HD 800. At least on this song it doesn't. So it's very internal, very, very speedy delivery. This is very, very fast. So we're gonna test some vocals being Ain't No Sunshine by Christy Barron, I Thought About You soundtrack. So they're not very bassy. They're a little bass light. Let's test a bassy song. So I'm gonna test Mountains by Hans Zimmer from the Interstellar soundtrack now. And this is a good test for dynamics as well as his bass response. Because about halfway through there's like this massive crescendo, and it's a lot, and very, very few headphones can really play it properly. Okay, so the sub bass not being too strong here is not working, and it's necessarily in its benefit. It sounds very, very crisp, very clean. The placement is awesome. The sound staging is all right. The imaging is fantastic, but that's kind of to be expected with a electrostatic headphone like this. But the bass does make certain music that should sound very full and massive feel a little bit thin. Now I'm going to test Coco, C-O-C-O by Kaleida, Tear the Roots soundtrack. Okay, so that song's just okay. It's not blowing my mind or anything like that, but it's pretty good. It's pretty good. So we're going to try some, I think it's called bachata? Bachata? I can't even remember. It's Spanish, I'm sorry. It's from Romeo Santos, Propuesta Indecente. I don't know. I'm sorry if I butchered that, by the way. And this is kind of bright, but very, very good imaging. I think it's called Bachata. I can't remember though. Okay, now another sound staging song of the Orakai from the Howard Shore Lord of the Rings Two Towers soundtrack. The Orakai is U-R-A-K-H-A-I. It's another song that it's very difficult to sound right. So here's something a little weird. So the Orakai, it's not a super loud song, but it's not a quiet song either. And I have this amplifier maxed out right now, and it's loud. It's definitely loud, but it's bearable. So I would have preferred it to be a little bit louder, just to where I feel like I have a little bit of headroom. And maybe there is headroom, it just doesn't go all the way to what it can, but I can max this out right now, and it's okay. So I'm gonna start low, and there's horns and everything, so it's a loud song. I'm gonna start halfway up and then go up, and you'll be able to hear it. So I won't play too much though. But that's definitely loud, but it's not louder than I would imagine ever listening to any headphone. Like if I was really into the music, yeah, I'd blast it like that. Not for very long, but I could. So I would have preferred that to be a little bit stronger. Perhaps some of the Stax energizers are a little bit stronger. Maybe like the 353, but I don't know how efficient. I don't know enough about the efficiency of electrostatic headphones to really confirm that. So let's listen to some Pentatonics. Hallelujah is one of their best songs, although the Jeff Buckley version arguably better. But yeah, like even on this song, it's loud, but I can turn it all the way up. Okay, so vocals feel very, very good. They're not as rich as something like a HD6XX would be, like a very rich vocal performing headphone. This doesn't really feel like that. This is very clean, very well placed, not overly clinical, and it doesn't really give me that it doesn't sound like thin like the Koss ESP 9500 sounded like. This sounds a little bit like Stax L300 Limiteds, but it lacks a little bit of that mid bass. Like this seems a little bit more even performing in the mid bass section, whereas the Stax seemed perhaps a little bit boosted in the lower mid range to the mid bass area. This seems like it is probably a flat line. I would guess from, I don't know, maybe 120 to probably about 1,000 hertz, I would guess is probably about a flat line. So I guess this is just a first impression. So, I'm not quite sure how I feel about this. Parts of it are very, very impressive. Like I listen to certain songs, and I've listened to a few that I haven't really talked about, and I'll just skip in between and listen to a specific part. That's just kind of how I listen to music sometimes. But sometimes it sounds great, and then there are other recordings that I know are good recordings, but I'm not quite getting what I want out of them, right? Like there's either not enough sound staging or there's not enough sub bass. Even in certain songs, I didn't really feel like there was detail in the right areas where I know that there's sounds in the background that are happening that just aren't happening here. Though it does seem to have a very good level of accuracy. So like Bubbles by Yoshihiro Kawa, one of the first songs that I tested, that song can soundstage fairly well in terms of the quality of from point A to point B, but point B is not super far out in that song. And so for songs like that, that sound very, very natural within their given soundstage, this does very, very well. But some of the more orchestral music, this doesn't really display that to be a massive sound, which is it's a little bit disappointing because that's something that I really like out of the Stax sound signatures is like this really tall, and it is tall, it's just not a massively large sound. So far it's definitely more of an intimate sounding headphone. Can soundstage, but it's not like HD 800 levels of wide or you know, anything like that. And I guess to compare it to another headphone that I tried recently being the Aria, I really, really like the Aria. I won't be able to review it for a few weeks because I got a lot of stuff to do. And a buddy of mine has it, so you know he's pretty local, so I can just grab him anytime. But this isn't leaving me feeling massively impressed. Now, I did just get this out of the box. It could need some break-in. This could need some break-in. Who knows? So I'll keep you updated if my opinions change massively in the review. But as of right now, I gotta be honest, Hifiman, like it looks beautiful. It's impressive. This is impressive. The build quality is amazing. But I'm not really sold on the sound signature. But we'll test it out later, and I'm optimistic about it. Like I really was looking forward to this, and I still am because it still sounds great. It's just a matter of, does it sound thousands of dollars great? All right, guys, that's gonna about do it. Thank you very much for watching. A special thank you to the patrons who help continue to make this channel possible. Really appreciate you guys' support. If you want early access to videos exactly like this one, there's a Patreon link in the description below. Thank you, Hifiman, for sending this out for a little bit of a stay here. Very appreciative for you guys to work with me. I really do mean it. All right, until the next video, my name's Josh, signing off.